Found in the home the guest purchased in 1973 is this remarkable collection of tobacco baseball cards.
We bought it at auction as a house and contents, and we paid $16,000 for the house. And in the process of renovating that place, we discovered these in a closet in this little tin, all secured inside of there with this little container of mothballs.
Some of these cards, specifically the T206 Seri, were issued by the American Tobacco Company between 1909 and 1911 and were originally packaged in cigarette packs.
The other thing about the T206 is they have what's called the Big Four: the Honus Wagner, the Eddie Plank, the Sherry McGee, and the Slow Joe Doyle. You have one of them.
Okay.
Okay, we don't have the Honus Wagner, unfortunately. One recently sold for over $6 million.
I know.
The company featured advertisements for 16 different brands on the backs of these cards, with most promoting the Piedmont brand. These cards were distributed during baseball's dead ball era and feature legendary players who helped shape the modern game. Among the most valuable cards in this collection are the Thank You Cobb Bat on Shoulder and Thank You Cobb Red Portrait variations. Thank You. Cobb was an American professional baseball center fielder who played 24 seasons in Major League Baseball. Another significant card is an E95 Thank You Cobb card issued by the Philadelphia Caramel Company. Also included in this collection is a rare Sherry McGee T206 card, notable as an error card because the player's name is misspelled, a highly collectible variation.
Current population count for the Sherry McGee error card is that there's about somewhere between 112 to 115 that have ever been graded. So it's easiest to attain of the Big Four, but it's still considered one of the Big Four because it was an error card that was corrected.
McGee was an American left fielder in Major League Baseball who played with the Philadelphia Phillies from 1904 to 1919. There are 153 cards in this collection. As a group, they would fetch an auction price of
$45,000 to $65,000.
Very nice. Thank you.
More than just a fixture, this lamp is a handcrafted expression of early 20th century style. It originally belonged to the guest's grandmother and was later inherited by the guest after her passing.
My grandmother used to have it on the table in the living room. Whenever she went out, she always turned on the light, and then I could always see it from the driveway. You could just see it shining, and she had a big picture window, and it was just so beautiful. And I remember as a child too, I was so delighted because underneath there was like 3 little strings to pull, and it was so exciting to be able to pull each light.
The lamp was made around 1912 by Pairpoint, a company based in New Bedford, Massachusetts.
Initially, they were only making metalware, and they merged with Mount Washington Glass, which was also in New Bedford in 1894, and by 1900 it became the Pairpoint.
Pairpoint produced lamps like this during the American art glass movement, alongside makers such as Tiffany Studios, Handel, and Duffner, and Kimberly. The design of this particular lamp's shade is known as the Berkeley shade, referring to its dome shape with a flared rim. Additionally, the surface of the shade features a chipped ice texture, intended to resemble frost on a window pane. The most distinctive feature of this lamp is the reverse-painted shade, which showcases an elegant floral design. The shade sits atop a weighted metal base with a bronze finish that provides both stability and visual harmony. There are a few condition issues, including some lost paint on the underside of the shade, a small chip along the edge, and minor corrosion on the base stem. On the base, there is a diamond-shaped mark with a P in the center. Pairpoint's signature authenticating the piece. In its current condition, this authentic reverse-painted Pairpoint lamp would be worth,
in today's market, I probably would value it between $1,000 and $2,000.
Okay. I see.
On display is a violin and bow purchased by the guest for his daughter when she was taking violin lessons. The violin originated from Meyercourt, France, between 1900 and 1910. It is crafted in the traditional French style, celebrated for its refined tonal qualities. The instrument features a seasoned spruce top with a maple back, ribs, and scroll. It has an amber oil-based varnish with a warm patina, producing a bright, focused projection with warmth in the lower register. The fittings are crafted from rosewood and include Parisian eye details on the pegs and tailpiece. In its current state, this violin would fetch an auction price of
$3,000, $3,500.
The bow, on the other hand, was made around 1925 by Victor Fatique, a renowned Parisian bowmaker. The bow shows significant player wear from extensive use, which is common and does not significantly affect its value. Fatique bows are highly collectible, and in an auction, this French bow would be worth,
As it sits, $5,000.
what we have here is a Jehan Georges Vibert painting, purchased by the guest's great-grandmother in Paris in the early 1900s. Jehan Georges Vibert was a French academic painter celebrated for his highly detailed, often satirical genre scenes that critiqued clergy and aristocratic life. Vibert trained at the École des Beaux-Arts under Baron Isidore Pils and exhibited regularly at the Paris Salon, becoming famous for his anti-clerical satire during France's era of church-state tensions.
Where there was more of a, not so much necessarily a repudiation of the church, but a different view of the church. The church was not held in the same sort of high esteem.
Right.
There were political conflicts between the conservative church and the more liberal state.
This painting, titled The Sacrilegious Monkey, depicts a humorous scene of Catholic priests attempting to catch a mischievous monkey. The painting is executed in oil on panel and bears the artist's signature in the lower left corner. It dates to around 1875, a period when Vibert's witty and incisive works appealed to wealthy collectors in Europe and America during the Gilded Age.
These kinds of humorous pictures were immensely popular. Amongst the patrons, you had captains of industry such as John Jacob Astor, who were paying vast sums of money, along with William Vanderbilt. A painting called The Missionary's Story sold for $25,000 during Vibert's lifetime, which was a fortune.
Vibert was also a color innovator, credited with the development of Vibert's colors. His palette here is dominated by rich reds, deep blacks, and warm neutrals, especially evident in the cardinal's robes. The brushwork achieves a highly realistic depiction of fabrics such as silk and velvet, as well as lace, wood paneling, and decorative objects. An appropriate insurance value for this late 19th century oil painting would be
About $75,000.
Showcased is a sculpture purchased by the guest at a gallery in the early 1970s as a gift for her husband.
I kept thinking this would be a wonderful surprise because I just know he would love it as a birthday surprise. So I called the owner of the gallery and I proposed to him that I would pay it out on a monthly basis if he would allow me to buy it, and it would take me 6 months. He agreed. And at the end of the 6 months, I drove back to the gallery, handed him the check when he turned to me and gave me a surprise and said, "I'd like to buy this back from you for $1,100.
This piece was created by Italian-American artist and designer Harry Bertoia. Bertoia was an Italian-born American artist, sound sculptor, and modern furniture designer. The sculpture on display was made in the 1960s and is crafted from beryllium copper. It belongs to Bertoia's celebrated Sonambient series sculptures that merge fine art with sound, making them essential to the history of mid-century modern design and kinetic art.
So this is sort of the simplest with just plain rods, beautifully constructed. I've seen them 10 feet high. Many of them have cattails. They have cylinders at the top, different lengths. They can be narrow, they can be wide.
Bertoia began creating sonambient sculptures in the early 1960s after exploring sound as a sculptural element. He even recorded multiple albums of sonambient soundscapes using these pieces in a converted barn. When brushed or struck, the rods vibrate and resonate, producing ethereal bell-like tones.
Worked for Florence and Hans Knoll in Pennsylvania, designing furniture for them. And Knoll were the premier makers of furniture in the 1950s and onward. And he designed a wire mesh chair, which is still in production and is one of the iconic examples of what we call mid-century modern furniture. He made these starting in the 1960s. It's made out of beryllium copper.
This sculpture features an arrangement of vertical rods in varying thicknesses and lengths, mounted on a square metal base that provides stability and enhances acoustic resonance. Bertoia's works are highly sought after by mid-century design collectors and contemporary art enthusiasts, and this piece is estimated to be worth
between $20,000 and $30,000.
Mr. Langman, $1,100. It was a profit at the time, but I'm glad I kept it.
a watch that made history by making sound a mechanical alarm built for the deep. This Lecoultre timepiece was inherited by the guest from his father 25 years ago. It is signed Lecoultre on the dial, indicating that it was made for the U.S. market. This particular model is called the Polaris, first introduced around 1965. The watch features a broad matte black dial with luminous triangular indices and baton markers. In addition, it includes an inner rotating bezel with a minute track for decompression timing. Designed specifically for divers, this watch is equipped with a mechanical alarm that rings underwater to alert divers when it's time to surface.
I've never been underwater to hear what it sounds like, but they actually make noise and vibration underwater so that the diver would know.
Typically, this model would have a rubber strap since it was intended for underwater use, but this example retains its original steel bracelet, an option included on watches sold in the U.S. market. There are a few condition issues, such as a slightly worn case, scratches on the crystal, and a darkened, luminous dial. Nevertheless, this is an extremely rare watch, as only about 1,714 pieces were produced between 1960 and 1970. In its present condition, this rare Jaeger-LeCoultre Polaris would command an auction value of,
I would still put the estimate at $20,000 to $25,000.
Wow. Wow. Oh, that's great.
Today's guest showcased a Celadon bowl that was gifted to her by her uncle, who acquired it while in Japan.
He obviously had planned to have a house and put all these things in it, and then he went blind. As a result, this stuff sat in my grandmother's attic for a good many years, and finally he rediscovered it and gave it to me as a Christmas gift to my husband.
The bowl comes with its original box, and both the bowl and the box bear a Chinese label indicating its Chinese origin. The characters on the box translate to large Celadon porcelain dish, Yongzheng period, specifying both the content and the production era.
But the Yongzheng period is from 1722 to 1735. It's a very short period, but it's a period in Chinese history when some of the finest ceramics were made, arguably of all time. This is quite a discovery.
During the Yongzheng and Qianlong periods, the Qing court revived and perfected Celadon glazes inspired by Song Dynasty Longquan ware. This piece likely ended up in Japan because the Japanese were among the world's most ardent collectors of Celadon wares. It would have been acquired by a dedicated Japanese collector.
The Japanese were such fine connoisseurs of the absolute most beautiful, the most sublime Chinese, Japanese, and other antiques. When we see a collector's box of this type, it excites us tremendously because the Japanese had such a long legacy of collecting. The knowledge was there, the connoisseurship was there.
On the inside of this Celadon bowl is a sublime dragon motif with crisp detailing that subtly emerges through the glaze, a testament to Qing technical mastery. The glaze is smooth, translucent, and evenly toned in pale green to bluish green, reflecting classic Celadon aesthetics. Furthermore, the texture displays an even, lustrous finish without pooling a hallmark of imperial quality. Large Celadon wares like this were produced in limited quantities for court use, making it an exceptional rarity. The condition of this piece is pristine, almost as if it were recently made. Given its rarity, it is estimated to be worth
Auction estimate of $80,000 to $120,000.
Oh my, really? And it's under my bed all the time? That overwhelms me.
Well, you may wish to rethink that under the bed.
I must say.
It's an absolute masterpiece.
I don't know what to say.
From the beaches of Normandy, this helmet once shielded a captain in the chaos of the 6th of June, 1944. The guest inherited this helmet from her grandmother, and it originally belonged to the guest's father's uncle, Captain Earl Arnold.
He was the first naval officer to land on Normandy. I thought, Grandma, and she then started talking about him being involved in helping develop plans for the assault on Normandy, and I thought, oh, how much of this can you come up with? So I didn't pay too much attention. She told me a few other stories and then asked me if I would be interested in the helmet. And I said, oh yeah, sure. I took it home and played with it for a while. And it just sat at home until about the 75th anniversary of D-Day. And I thought, I'm going to check into this. And sure enough, my grandmother's stories were quite accurate.
Arnold served in the U.S. Navy during World War II and played a significant role in the aftermath of the Normandy beach landings. He took command of the U.S. Navy Advance Base at Le Havre and was awarded both the Legion of Merit and the Croix de Guerre for his service. The Normandy invasion was the largest amphibious assault in history and a decisive turning point in World War II, marking the beginning of the liberation of Western Europe from Nazi control.
He was the naval officer in charge at Utah Beach, one of the first to land. And when we look at that event, it makes the hair stand up on your arms, because the D-Day invasion at Normandy is one of those moments in world history where the course of the world hangs in the balance. And we didn't win the war at Normandy.
Right.
But had we been kicked off those beaches, it at the very least would have taken another year or two, and who knows how many lives, in order to accomplish the mission that had to be done.
On the front of this helmet is a designator, NOIC, which stands for Naval Officer in Charge, the rank held by the guest's uncle while stationed in Utah. This is an early production World War II M1 steel helmet, complete with a captain's insignia on the front. Inside the helmet, the captain's name is inscribed, and on the reverse side, we see the letters USN, denoting the United States Navy. Accompanying the helmet is a photograph showing Captain Arnold wearing this very piece, adding strong provenance.
This has to have been on June 6th. He's still,
really?
He's still wearing his invasion life belt.
Oh.
So this puts him on Normandy on June 6th wearing that helmet.
D-Day helmets are highly sought after by World War II militaria collectors and museums, and this example would easily command a price of
$30,000 and $40,000.
Wow. I can't believe that. Amazing. Pretty expensive flower pot. Wow.
Today's guest brought a needlework piece created by his great-grandmother while she was a student at St. Joseph's Academy in Emmitsburg, Maryland.
The work was completed and she received this premium for it on July 3rd of 1822. And it's been in my family the whole time since 1822.
St. Joseph's Academy was one of the first Catholic academies for girls in the United States, founded by Elizabeth Ann Seton, the first American-born saint. Seton was an American Catholic religious educator and is recognized as the founder of the country's parochial school system. Needlework was an essential part of female education in early America, teaching patience, virtue, and domestic skill. Samplers like this were both artistic expressions and moral exercises, often reflecting values of humility and faith. This particular needlework depicts a scene of St. Joseph's Academy, including St. Joseph's house, which later became St. Joseph's College. The piece dates back to around 1821, 1822, and is executed in silk on silk. While the young girls at the school embroidered the needlework, the teachers painted the gouache background on silk. Accompanying the needlework is a Reward of Merit document awarded to the guest's great-grandmother for completing the piece.
What does it say?
It says St. Joseph's Academy. This premium is awarded to Miss Barbara Motter for success and improvement, dated July 3rd, 1822, and signed by Sister Rose.
Fewer than 30 examples of these needleworks are known to exist today, and considering its provenance and rarity, an appropriate insurance value for this piece would be
of $50,000.
Golly, that's amazing.
On display is a Lady Liberty figure that the guest inherited from her mother after her passing.
She purchased it through a dealer that she found online. She just always loved folk art, and so when she saw this.
What'd you pay for it?
It's my understanding she paid $5,000 for it.
And this was when?
Probably 2005 to 2010.
This figure is crafted from molded plaster and modeled after the Statue of Liberty in New York City. Its origin and maker remain uncertain. There is speculation, but no definitive attribution.
She's not signed anywhere.
Darn.
I talked to several people that have handled things like this, and they said they thought there was a company in Chicago that made things like this.
Well, the dealer told Mother that it came out of a school in Ohio.
Okay, well that fits.
Yeah, it was found up in the attic in a school in Ohio, and then the dealer was the one that packaged it up or trucked it to Mother in Montana. So.
Yeah.
One of the most striking features of this figure is its painted surface, which gives the piece an expressive and lifelike appearance. It features a tin crown with 7 rays, symbolizing the 7 seas and 7 continents. The body is draped in a classical robe, emphasizing the neoclassical style. In the right hand, the figure holds up a lamp, which, according to the appraiser, has been replaced.
The fixture in there is a ceramic fixture.
Okay.
And the wire coming up out of here where it's not rewired is covered in cloth.
Okay.
So that means I think we're in the teens or 20s.
Okay.
The left hand cradles a tablet inscribed with July MDCCLXXVI, just like the original Statue of Liberty. The figure stands on a beautifully painted pedestal, inscribed with the word Liberty. In its current condition, this molded plaster Lady Liberty figure would fetch an auction price of
A retail value on this would be $10,000 or $15,000.
Oh, great. That's great.
The guest brought a dining set to the show that her grandmother purchased at an auction in Pasadena around 1960.
She had said there were 2 sets made in the 1930s for the Chicago's World Fair, and that one set belonged to Al Jolson, and she bought the other set. We have 169 pieces of this.
Examining the marks on the back of one of the pieces, we can tell they were manufactured by Hutchenrother in Bavaria, Germany.
And the mark of that manufacturer is in line with the 1930s. Okay. So that date could be accurate, okay? The other mark says 24 karat encrusted gold and platinum, which is in English, not in German.
Right.
Hutchenrother was among the premier European porcelain makers by the early 20th century. In the 1930s, the company produced high-end dinner services for luxury dining, reflecting Art Deco elegance and the refinement of the interwar period. These porcelains were originally shipped to the United States, plain white, and the designs, patterns, and colors were later applied by a decorating company. This is a complete dinner service, including dinner plates, soup bowls, cups, saucers, and serving pieces. The pieces feature hand-painted accents or transfer-printed motifs, along with gold trim around the rims and handles. This collection exemplifies fine German porcelain craftsmanship from a manufacturer renowned for its elegant tableware and artistic porcelain since the early 19th century. In recent years, the desirability of this type of porcelain has declined, making the set less valuable. Although this collection is a beauty to behold, in today's auction market, it would be worth
maybe between $2,000 and $4,000. That seems ridiculously low to me.
This sculpture bridges the material and the sacred in a way only Buddhist art can. The figure is a Tibetan Buddha bronze sculpture dating back to the 17th century, purchased by a guest in Nepal for $150.
I went to Columbia University studying Asian religions, so I knew quite a bit and have had to teach Buddhism, Hinduism, Chinese and Japanese religions. So I came to William and Mary in 1970, and this came with me. The way they've cast the metal and all this detail is amazing to me.
This Buddha holds at its waist the Wheel of Life, also known as the Dharma Wheel, symbolizing Buddha's teachings and the moral order of the world. The sculpture features exquisite hand-chased work, with detailed drapery over the shoulder and finely rendered jewelry on the chest. Notably, there is a subtle difference between the face and the crown. The slight matte finish suggests they were painted at some point. The base is encircled by uniformly arranged beads, adding to its visual harmony. Unlike 20th century bronze figures, this piece includes chaste detailing on the back, a hallmark of authenticity and traditional craftsmanship that enhances its desirability. Interestingly, a tag remains attached to the right arm placed there to facilitate export from Nepal at the time of purchase.
These were done so objects were easily identified as ready for export or to be able to be exported.
Tibetan bronze figures like this were created for ritual use and often consecrated with mantras and sacred relics. In a retail setting, this authentic 17th century bronze Buddha figure would sell for
It would be valued at $100,000. In an auction setting, it's likely to have an estimate of between $30,000 and $50,000.
That's all?
Presented here is a painting that the guest purchased at an open house where the artist was selling some of her works.
She had this available, and my wife and I loved it immediately, and we bought it right away. We just thought it was such a sweet painting. The woman who we purchased it from, this was the first painting that she bought when she started her art career in New York.
This piece dates to around 1960 and was created by Bessie Loenhop. Loenhop was a quietly profound American artist who spent much of her life in Missouri and Indiana. Her body of work, ranging from early self-taught pieces to later studio paintings, offers an intimate portrait of everyday life through a distinctly modern lens. The medium of this painting is oil on canvas, and it demonstrates a balance between abstraction and reality, a hallmark of Loenhop's style. Typical of her work, this painting is unsigned, but unusually, it bears a title, a rare feature for Loenhop. It is titled, Woman Descending Stairs.
Maybe the reason she didn't want to title her work is because she wanted the viewer to take their own idea away from the experience.
Another characteristic of her paintings is the dominance of a single color. Here, yellow prevails, a hue she often referred to as the master of ceremonies. Interestingly, the artist had only one commercial exhibition, held at Martin Schweig Galleries in 1968, the same year she passed away. This particular painting has been reframed by the guest, which could slightly detract from its value.
She always created her own frames. She would go to a furniture store and pick up scraps of lumber. Poplar wood is what she would use. And they would always be very thin strips.
Absolutely.
And sometimes she would paint them to go with the painting.
In its present condition, this painting by Loenhop would easily sell for,
at auction, would sell between $4,000 and $6,000.
That's great. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's certainly more than we paid for it.
a book from the late 16th century when geometry shaped not only numbers but the very framework of the world. This is the 1597 Geometrical Treatise, an early printed work on mathematical and geometrical principles by Leonard Digges, later extended by his son Thomas Digges. Leonard Digges was a prominent English mathematician and surveyor, credited with inventing the theodolite, and widely recognized as a popularizer of surveying, cartography, and military engineering. The guest who brought this book onto the show is a direct descendant of Digges, and this piece has been in their family for generations.
Our name is Diggs, and my grandfather was really big into family genealogy, and we tend to be architects, builders, mathematicians, and I think this book was written by A. Diggs that he has in the genealogy book as being part of the family.
Okay.
So that's what I know about it. So
The book is bound in parchment, a treated animal skin typical of publications from this era. Its full title is A Geometrical Practical Treatise, named Pantometria, a comprehensive text on geometry and land surveying. Inside, the book features fascinating illustrations. One depicts a device used to measure the size of a fortress. Another shows the same instrument employed to determine the height of a tower. Additionally, on page 35, there is an illustration of one of Leonard Digges's inventions, the theodolite.
This instrument is a fascinating device. It's illustrated here as well. But to this day, that instrument is used, for instance, in rocketry. So an invention from the 1590s is still being used today.
This 1597 edition of Diggis's Geometrical Treatise is especially significant because it was among the last printed during the reign of Elizabeth I. Given its rarity, provenance, and historical importance in the development of mathematics and surveying, this book would command an auction price of
$15,000 to $25,000 on it.
Wow.
It's a real treasure.
Very nice.
So I hope you keep the book in a safe place.
I do. I keep it locked up.
Yeah.